Hello, Capricorn Risings. This is your monthly zodiac reading for the month of December 2025. This is the last reading for the year of 2025, and it has been a huge year. It has been drastic changes. Thankfully, this year or this month, there's not a lot of energy going on, so hopefully we can move through everything as smoothly as possible. As always, we are going to get an overall energy theme for the month. I will pull tarot for each week. I will clarify that with more tarot, as well as discuss those tarot messages, how they correlate to the current astrological energies that are transiting through those weeks. And then we will wrap it up with some additional oracle guidance. So let's see. What do Capricorn risings need to know for the month of December 2025? What do Capricorn risings need to know for the month of December 2025? Keep your commitments. I want to say that you guys got this same card for November 2025 as well. I'll have to go back and look, but I'm not surprised if you do. Commitment is all very much a Capricorn thing. Just depending on, and with Capricorn, of course, being your rising sign, this could be keeping the commitments to yourself. You will be stepping in. We will be stepping into Capricorn season this month. We will also be having Mars moving into the sign of Capricorn, as well as Venus moving into the sign of Capricorn this month. So there's a lot that is happening in your first house around this month. So let's see what the tarot has to say. Here in this first week, the Six of Cups. So the Six of Cups kind of represents nostalgia. It kind of represents things like creativity, love, joy, innocence, right? Things that we kind of feel are kind of innately within us is kind of what the feeling feels like for you guys. It feels very nurturing, to be honest. It feels very, very nurturing. This is the week that we experience the full moon within the sign of Gemini at 13 degrees. The 13th degree is an Aries degree. But Aries for you guys sits in your fourth house, right? This could be feeling very nurtured at home. This could feel very nurtured or like really nurturing. It feels like nurturing that inner child, nurturing the things that make you feel comfortable and the things that make you feel safe, right? You guys are about security or safety within the physical, tangible world, but the opposing energy of that is actually Cancer, and Cancer is all about feeling that safety within the internal world or the emotional world. Cancer traditionally rules the fourth house. So this makes a lot of sense that with this, I'm totally looking at that wrong. We are not looking at your fourth house. We are looking at your sixth house. This is your sixth house. This is your house of day-to-day commitments. I don't know why. Oh, because I said the 13th degree is an Aries degree. But Gemini is actually sitting in your sixth house. Your sixth house is your house of like health and work habits. This is your house of day-to-day routines. This could be asking you to really nurture and keep those commitments. But in order for you to keep those commitments to your day-to-day life, your day-to-day routine, your health and your work habits, it could actually be asking you to, again, nurture that inner child. I really feel like this theme of nurturing is going to be coming up here a lot within this full moon in Gemini. Full moons are a buildup of energy, and within the sign of Gemini, Gemini is all about the duality, the give and take of information, very inquisitive. Maybe you need to know a lot in order for you to just kind of function on a day-to-day basis. Maybe you have a hard time focusing. Gemini is like a busy, busy, busy little bee. It is all over the place. It wants to know all the things. It's always learning, always asking questions. But a full moon in that sign can really heighten and activate that energy. So it could mean that you guys, if you really want to keep your commitments, your day-to-day commitments, your daily routine, health and work habits, you're gonna actually, you might have to try and slow down a little bit and practice a little bit of mindfulness. Practice maybe Maybe incorporate things that bring more nurturing energy to your day-to-day. Maybe incorporate things that actually bring a spark of joy and creativity and imagination to your day-to-day. Here in the second week, the Four of Cups in reverse. So when the Four of Cups is in reverse, it can represent that like clarity has kind of been received. Maybe there's a situation that you're not going to feel bored or frustrated with. You're ready to kind of move forward with this new understanding or this new zest for life. This is the week that Neptune is going to go direct within the sign of Pisces at the 29th degree. The 29th degree is an anaretic degree, and it represents things like finally coming to an end, things that are finally coming to a sense of completion. So if there's been this sense of apathy, exhaustion, boredom, or frustration due to a lack of clarity, Neptune is actually going to be going direct. So that could actually allow the fog to lift and this cycle of uncertainty to really move on. We will also have Mercury, the planet of thoughts, ideas, communication, is moving into the sign of Sagittarius. So this is your 12th house, right? This is your house of the subconscious. This is your house of the things that are hidden, mental health, emotional, or not emotional well-being, but mental health, things like where we keep our secrets, right? Self-sabotage. This is the house of hidden enemies. But to me, with the subconscious being in that same arena, usually we are our own worst enemy, right? So with Mercury moving into the sign of Sagittarius, which is your 12th house, it could just bring a lot of clarity, and maybe doing some of that more introspective work doesn't feel so boring and mundane now that Mercury is kind of living in that space. Here in the third week, very nice. So the Page of Pentacles could be receiving a message of financial opportunity, or just a message of an opportunity to allow things to, it feels kind of like even out, like something that is going to bring more balance, or kind of like an anchor, right? The Page of Pentacles is, they are messengers, but they're also apprentices. So these are people who are learning things. It almost feels like this anchor of being, like you receive a message that allows you to anchor into the very practical day-to-day things. This is when Mars is moving into your first house. So how you assert yourself, Mars is actually exalted in the sign of Capricorn, so it's exalted in this space. You could feel more direct. You could really want to take more of an initiative when it comes to being practical and keeping those commitments. It's almost like I said, it feels like an anchor. Instead of things kind of feeling a little floaty or a little wobbly, it feels like when Mars moves into your first house, it's going to feel like an anchor. And that is going to feel like this welcome relief when it comes to being able to keep your commitments and having this anchored sense of self to kind of go back to, if that makes sense. This is also the week that we experience the new moon within the sign of Sagittarius. Again, this is going to be another new moon at the 28th degree. The 28th degree is a Cancer degree. Cancer governs things like emotional attachments and emotional safety. So anytime we've been experiencing this new moon, it's bringing a new opportunity to create a sense of emotional attachment and emotional safety within the sign that it's sitting in. And this is your 12th house. So this is kind of like a new opportunity for you to do more of the introspective work that allows you to feel more grounded and allows you to feel more like safer within the context of your own mind, if that makes sense. Here in the fourth week, this is the week that Capricorn season does begin, but it is also the week that we will experience the winter solstice, which will be on the 21st. The winter solstice is really kicking off that time of year where we will experience more nighttime than we do daytime. And I was thinking about this when we have like the fall equinox. it's really starting that season of like decay where the trees are, or the leaves are falling off the trees. Everything is going and landing on the ground and it's slowly just starting to decay itself. But when winter comes around, that is the time to truly rest and to hibernate. So here in this week, the Seven of Cups in reverse. So the Seven of Cups in reverse represents like disillusionment, right? That fog is definitely lifting. That sense of clarity is finally coming forward again. This is when Capricorn season really begins. And we also experience Venus, the planet of love, money, beauty, and value, is going to actually be moving into your first house. So you could be feeling a lot more, it feels like gratitude, even the sense of self-love, really valuing who you are. And maybe that's bringing a lot of clarity around how you can move forward. Let's see. Let's see what additional clarifying energy we can get. Here in this first week, the Six of Cups, the Queen of Coins, very nice, and Justice. So this does feel like definitely seeing the truth of a situation with justice being presented here. Really seeing the truth of a situation and understanding that in order for you to really keep the balance, you're going to really need to balance this sense of emotional safety and a security within yourself. Maybe, like I said, bring in more creativity, maybe bring in things that feel connected to the things that once brought you joy as children, but also doing that to help bring balance to your practical goals, because we've got a lot of nurturing energy here and we've got a big theme of balance. So it's almost like in order for you to, if you feel like this full moon is highlighting an ability or maybe where you struggle to maintain a sense of commitment to your day-to-day routines, because again, this full moon is going to be hitting your sixth house. This is your house where Gemini exists. This full moon is going to be illuminating why that is happening and how you can bring more balance into that area of your life. And in order for you to restore balance to that, to your day-to-day life, your work habits, your health habits, in order for you to be able to maintain those commitments, you are going to have to nurture yourself by doing something that brings you joy, by doing something that makes you feel love and nurtured. You cannot just solely focus on your goals. You cannot just solely focus on, okay, what's the next step? What do I need to do next? And then what's next? And then what's next? And then what's next? You need to take time throughout your day-to-day, and it needs to be something for yourself on a day-to-day basis that allows you to feel nurtured, that even again nurtures your sense of creativity. If you like to read, sit down and take time to actually read a book. If you like to watch TV, if there's like a particular show you like to enjoy, sit down and watch that show. If you like to play games on your phone, sit down and take, even if it's 15 minutes, take that time to do something that really feeds your soul, that really feeds that emotional side of you. And I think that when you're able to bring that back into balance, it is actually going to help you maintain your commitments to whatever it is that you feel committed to on a day-to-day basis. It's actually going to kind of reignite that fire. It is literally that cliche saying, fill your cup, right? You need to fill your cup when it comes to the full moon in Gemini. And again, I think the full moon is going to illuminate maybe why that's out of balance. Maybe you're just so focused on the next thing, moving on to the next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? That it is causing, maybe it feels like a lot of burnout, and it is causing just an inability to focus and concentrate. Okay. So here in this first week with the full moon in Gemini, It looks like the full moon is going to be allowing you to release the things that prohibit you from being able to maintain that sense of balance within that area of your life. Here in the second week, this is the week that Mercury will move into the sign of Sagittarius. The Knight of Cups in reverse. So typically the Four of Cups, like I said, when it's in reverse, we typically look at it like the general meanings are you're not going to feel bored, you're not going to feel frustrated. However, the energy with the Knight of Cups in reverse, as well as the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, the energy has felt very stagnant. And I think the reason it has felt stagnant is because you are trying to move past barriers that you don't know how to move past yet. And the reason you don't know how to move past those things is because you're not taking the time to discover this sense of clarity. You're not taking the time to listen to your intuition, right? Because the 12th house is where our intuition lies. It is where we feel that intuitive pull. It is our house of mental health. It is also our house of spirituality and imagination and intuition. And those things become stronger when we do that introspective work. But if you're not doing that introspective work, you are going to feel bored and frustrated with the fact that the energy is not going anywhere. And you're going to feel like I am just wasting my time. But you're not wasting your time. It wouldn't be wasting your time if you took the time. If you take the time to do that introspective work, if you take the time to allow yourself to hear your intuition, you would actually gain the clarity that you need on how to move forward. Okay, and again, with Mercury, so Sagittarius being in the 12th house, Sagittarius is something that likes to explore. It is definitely a sign that wants to travel, it wants to learn, it wants to experience life. It is the sign of adventure. But with it being in such a challenging house as the 12th house, a lot of your adventure is going to come from within. Yes, you traveling and being out in the world is actually going to allow you to understand more of yourself. It is actually going to allow you to create this deeper connection to your own spirituality and maybe help rebalance your mental health. But with these cards all being in reverse, Mercury moving into the sign of Sagittarius, I think is actually going to provide you the opportunity to recognize, to actually do that deep inner work. It is like expansion through exploration, but that exploration is really diving into your own mind, right? Why do I think the way I think? Why do I believe what I believe? Why? Understanding how you move within the world and why you move the way you move within the world and why you feel the way you feel about the world around you is only going to come from that introspective work. So here in this second week, I think that really needs to be the focus. Because if you're feeling bored and frustrated and like, I don't know why the energy's not going anywhere, it's because you're trying to move against the current. The current is trying to get you to slow down, to do that introspective work. But if you're not taking the time to do that, it's going to feel like you are constantly coming up against roadblock, roadblock, and roadblock. Okay? So there's a need for patience and there's a need for you to really just take that time to go deep within. Here in the third week, the Page of Pentacles, the Sun in reverse, and the Page of Pentacles in reverse. This is the week that we have Mars moving into Capricorn and the new moon within the sign of Sagittarius. So a new moon that is occurring within your 12th house. This is an opportunity. The Page of Pentacles direct is saying that there's an opportunity here for you to have more practical goals. There's an opportunity here to learn something, to build a new habit that allows you to have inspiration, that actually allows you to have the time to feel inspired. If we are consistently bombarded with stress, or if our cup overfloweth, there's not a lot of room for anything else. And with the sun in reverse, there's this dark cloud that can feel like it's hanging over you. There's a lack of inspiration. There's a lack of joy. There's a lack of connection to who you are. And the Page of Pentacles in reverse is saying like that's because there's not a lesson. The lesson of being more practical and the lesson of how did I phrase it earlier? The lesson of how to recognizing that those day-to-day habits are what create the long-term goal, that create the long-term success. I kind of lost my train of thought right there. But the new moon in Sagittarius is allowing you the opportunity to connect your intuitive mind to your practical mind. And when you do that, it is going to ultimately provide space mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually for you to feel connected to who you are, for you to feel connected to joy and to feel inspired, which is going to allow you to express yourself in a way that feels more authentic to you. So this new moon in Sag is about the opportunity to recognize that and to figure out exactly how you want to bring that into fruition. How do you want to what can you do on a day-to-day basis that allows you to focus on the smaller goals, the SMART goals, not the long-term goals, but the smaller goals that provide you enough space and opportunity to connect to who you want to be. It's almost like the habits that are going to create this ultimate version or ideal version of yourself is what you're being given the opportunity to focus on with the new moon in Sagittarius. I hope that made sense. I kept getting lost while I was trying to explain it because there was a lot of information coming in. But this new moon is a blank slate, and it's an opportunity for you to really recognize, one, who you want to be long term, and then to break it down into smaller goals and to how you can accomplish those smaller goals on a day-to-day basis, right? Because those small steps create big leaps. So if you're like, I want to feel more self-confident in myself, well, that self-confidence is going to come from you finding ways to feel more confident about yourself on a day-to-day basis. If you want to feel more self-love, like you're like, I want to be a person who really loves myself and values myself, that's going to come from you doing that on a day-to-day basis until it becomes a habit. It becomes habitual to the point where it actually becomes who you are, right? That, I think, is what this new moon in Sagittarius is providing for you. And also with Mars, like it is this drive and it is this initiative to really become the most optimal version of yourself. But you have to recognize that the 12th house is then followed up by the first house. So that is only who you want to be is going to come from knowing who you are deep within. And it's going to be the guiding force or the guiding light to where you want to go. Here in the 4th week, the 7 of Cups in reverse, the 6 of Wands in reverse, and the 2 of Cups in reverse. I think with this, the 7 of Cups in reverse, like stepping into Capricorn season, Venus moving into the sign of Capricorn, I think it's really, you're actually gaining a lot of clarity. Again, 7 of Cups is like disillusionment, like stepping into this space of clarity. That like the reason I have felt so unsuccessful, or the reason I feel like I lack support, is because I have been, my heart and my mind have been at odds with one another. Because the 2 of Cups in reverse, yes, it can represent that there's a love relationship that is just not aligned with you, but there's really no other card. I don't get a lot of, the main focus for December is going to be relationships. I don't think that. I feel like a lot of this is going to revolve around your 1st and your 12th house, which is your subconscious and your sense of self. Okay? So I think with the 7 of Cups being in reverse, the 6 of Wands also being in reverse, the 2 of Cups also being reverse, is like, look, I now see the truth. I see things clearly. That the reason I have felt so unsupported is because my values have not been aligned, have not been in alignment with my actions. I am making choices. I am acting in a way that does not align with either who I want to truly be, or it doesn't align with my core values. It's like there's this friction here between, again, your subconscious and your sense of self. Like maybe there's this projection of who you are supposed to be, but in reality, that is actually it's this friction between who you want to be or who you truly know yourself to be. It's like you're trying to live up to the expectations of others without actually living up to your own expectations of who you are and who you want to be, if that makes sense. So this last week in the month is actually going to it's providing that clarity. Like, oh, I haven't been living up to my own expectations, or I have not been in alignment with my own values. And that could be, like I said, what your commitment is. This is your commitment to yourself. This is commitment. And it feels like a soul level commitment. You came here to live in alignment with your own values and to figure out how you can bring that into the practical world. And there's a lot of pressure with Capricorn energy to be successful, to be, quote unquote, to be the GOAT, to be the greatest of all time. There's a lot of pressure within that type of energy. And it could be that, like, maybe that commitment to your own soul growth, that commitment to your own sense of self has gotten lost due to the very heavy projections of other people. And you're going to realize that here in this 4th week. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Know your worth. You are worth feeling balanced. You are worth feeling this sense of joy and creativity. Just because you're Capricorn energy doesn't mean you have to be so rigid. There are a whole 11 other houses. There are a whole 12, there are 12 whole placements that you can, 12 whole different energies that you could live through. But this is a time for you to know your worth. That you can not only, I deserve to feel successful and loved. I deserve to feel successful and nurtured. I deserve to feel successful, to feel accomplished in the external world as well as in the internal world. And that is only going to happen is if you recognize that you can feel both of those things. Both of those things can be true at the same time. You don't have to sacrifice one or the other. Be humble. Recognizing that maybe you have not been listening to your own intuition, that maybe you have been impatient, that maybe you have been pursuing goals from an ego point versus from like a soul point versus from like a heart-led point. Recognizing those things can be a very humbling experience. Trust me, I just experienced that myself. It can be a very humbling experience. But once you recognize that this time that you spent, instead of looking at it like I wasted so much time, because that's super easy to do. It's very easy to criticize yourself that way. But if we shift that, if we reframe that to be like, you know what? I learned so much about myself throughout that time. And I know now I am much more clear on what I don't want, that it helps make what I do want much more obvious, right? Here, reveal what needs to be seen. That new moon in Sagittarius hitting your 12th house. There are things that need to come forward. These are things I feel like that are very hidden, they're hidden within your subconscious. They almost feel like they're right on the surface. It's almost like they're not completely buried within the subconscious. They might be unconscious, but they're right on the verge of becoming conscious. It's like you can feel this shift coming, but you're not entirely sure how to bring it to fruition. And you going within your subconscious, recognizing that like that self-reflective work, that commitment to yourself is what is going to bring that to fruition. It is what is going to connect you to your deeper sense of self. So reveal what needs to be seen. And the only way you're going to do that is if you look within and you do that introspective work. Work through your feelings. Again, just because you recognize that you've been maybe, again, pursuing goals from a very superficial standpoint, or where you have lost your own sense of alignment because you're trying to live up to the expectations of others, just because you realize that, don't be hard on yourself. Don't criticize yourself. Actually recognize that now this is an opportunity for you to step even further and be like, you know what? I will not do that anymore. And I am not willing to allow myself to do that anymore. And like almost like double down on that commitment to your soul's growth, to your evolution. Okay. So I truly hope this helped. You guys have got a huge, like a powerful, powerful month ahead of you. And we will see you in 2026.